Volume has declined a little bit in the option space because a few of the big funds have disappeared, a few of the big market makers have disappeared. But I do still think there's an opportunity there. I just think it's a little bit naive when people draw analogies to TradFi and say, oh, TradFi volumes in derivatives and options is so huge. So by extension, it should be huge in DeFi. And what that creates is some short term dislocations where actually, if you know what you're doing in the option space, you can make a lot of money by being a market maker.
Right. And I feel like in TradFi, the volume there is mostly on the um, institutional side. Like, this is just my assumption. I'm not sure if it's actually true, but I feel like that's where most of the volume comes from.
Yeah, the majority of it is. I mean, what GameStop did is it, and Robinhood did to some extent, overall, is it introduced retail investors to speculating via options. And so you do see increasing order flow from that user base, whereas in DeFi it's pretty much all speculative. So it's very much PvP in the option space.
Right. So can you use options as insurance for your portfolio? Like do a straddle strategy?
Yeah, so straddle is more of a bet because you're betting that the market's going to deviate meaningfully to the downside or the upside because you buy a put and a call.
Mhm.
To hedge your portfolio, you could just buy put options. So let's say I owned 1,000 ETH and I was worried about ETH price exposure. I could buy a put option, which pays me when the price of ETH goes down. So you could think of it as an expensive form of insurance against price. The key kind of variables with options is they can expire worthless if you choose the wrong strike or the wrong maturity date. And so for your kind of average investor, unless they have a very specific view, like, oh, I'm really worried that ETH is going to go down this week and it's going to go below 1,000, then you could buy an out of the money put option quite cheap on ETH, because obviously it's trading around like nearly 1,300 at the moment. Um, but I think most of the time in the option space, you want to be the market maker as opposed to the market taker who's buying those options.
Okay, that makes sense. So the platforms where you can trade options now, like um, Dopex, can you also write the contracts too, or is
You
that only yeah?
You can. So Dopex uses a innovative model, which are these option vaults. I'd encourage anybody to go in there and read a little bit more about it. But essentially, you would deposit an asset like ETH into the option vaults on Dopex, and then the Dopex smart contract actually writes and sells those options to anybody who comes in and wants to buy an ETH call option or an ETH put option, and then you settle at the end of that vault. So that epoch rather. So I definitely encourage anybody to look at Dopex as a more user friendly way of getting into the option space.
Right.